They are among Europe's most successful internet success stories. So why are they so vilified? The Samwer brothers have time and time again built up high-growth companies that draw the interest of some of the richest companies in the world, including eBay and Groupon. The brothers have also turned that money into smart investments in tech giants like Facebook and LinkedIn. So why is it that the Samwers are making economies both within and even outside of their industry? Stick around until the end of the video to find out, as we break down the Samwer family success story, as well as why they have become so formidable as well as so disliked by some. Chapter 1. Destined for Success. One ought to go far in order to know how far one can go. Those words were once muttered by Heinrich Böll, a Nobel Prize-winning writer and client of the Samwer brothers' father. There are 3 brothers, Oliver, Alexander, and Mark, and those words written by Heinrich serve as a sort of family motto for the siblings. Oliver and his brothers are the latest of a long line of successful Samwers, who have dominated the business world as attorneys, advisors, and even as the German Prime Minister at one point. The Samwers have always been extremely well connected and have always done whatever it takes to stay on top as one of Germany's most successful families. Generations of success in business and in life put a lot of pressure on the brothers to succeed from an early age, and were taught from an early age the principles of success in business. The brothers were very interested in starting up their own business from an early age, but they didn't seem to care as much about the idea part. Mark would later describe his and his brother's mentality like this: "We wanted to be entrepreneurs first, then find an idea." Keep note of that quote, as it will become increasingly relevant as we continue to break down just why everyone had such a big issue with this family. When you have a lot of money at your disposal and an intense desire to become successful businessmen, you may swing and miss a whole lot at the start. That was definitely the case here, as the Samwer brothers struggled early on to find an idea to match their lofty goals. As they got older, they started to take inspiration from their idols that had already cracked the code on this front. One of the ideas that they held onto for the longest time was the idea of opening a low-cost airline to make their fortune, like their idols Richard Branson and Michael O'Leary did to get rich. People that talked to the Samwer brothers knew one thing though, and that was that they were very passionate about business, even if they weren't as passionate about the product. This would take them far. And because they had inherited so much money from their impressive lineage, money could help make up for what they may have lacked in creativity. Of the 3, Oliver was probably the most interested in building businesses. In 1994, while Oliver was still in school at WHU, he would make a visit to Silicon Valley. This would spark something in Oliver and change the way he thought about business forever. He really found it interesting how the folks at Silicon Valley were doing business. And as a young man himself, he felt it fit his style perfectly. Oliver would open up his first business as a result from this trip, and although may not have been very technical, it maintained the same kind of scrappy operating and business building that he had learned in America. Oliver would open Ego International Trading in 1995, which was a shoemaking shop in Bolivia. Chapter 2. America's Most Successful Startups. In 1998, Oliver Samwer and his classmate Max Finger would write and publish a book called America's Most Successful Startups. If you really want to know how the Samwer brothers do business and what kind of philosophy they hold, then look no further than this book. It focuses on what U.S. companies are doing to innovate, as well as emphasizing the tech sector in particular. With the amount that Oliver writes about and explores the tech sector at this early stage in his life, it's no wonder that so many of their endeavors today are still within this industry. The book strikes a very authoritarian tone, and is mostly earned. The two would interview over 100 U.S. startups before writing this book, and they clearly had some great ideas to play with. Remember that this is the late 90s when they are writing this, and you'll be surprised to note that they not only mention remote work, but also concepts like customer interviews and undercutting the competition. In today's words, this would probably be categorized as something like the lean startup, where it's all about moving fast and making a lot of noise right away. The book becomes a bit more controversial as it heads on though, at least to some business purists out there. Samwer and Finger essentially outline exactly what kind of tactics Rocket would use to gain an advantage over the competition in this publication, and it's a truly interesting read. Samwer references attacking untapped markets, succeeding through aggressive tactics, and caring little for creativity and novelty. Interestingly enough, for anyone that knows about Rocket and the Samwers, however, is the fact that the document mentions how much trouble it can be to steal ideas, and that this is a really awful idea. How would the Samwers mentally affect Rocket and their future as entrepreneurs? We'll tell you in just a bit, but before we do, if you could leave a like if you're enjoying this video, that would mean a lot to us. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Chapter 3: Alando and the Rise of Rocket. One of the Samwer brothers' biggest successes came with the emergence of Alando. At that time, there was no version of eBay in Germany, and the Samwer brothers saw an opportunity. They reached out to eBay and asked if they could run the German division for them. After a bit of time, the brothers had received no answer and decided to create the market themselves. They would create Alando, which both looked and functioned very similarly to eBay in almost every way. Marco, Oliver, and Alexander all put childhood items like toys and clothes on the site to get it started, and in no time the website was making a major profit. After only a year of operations, eBay would contact the Samwers and negotiate a $43 million deal to sell the company. Although it was their first big break, Oliver says that he still regrets making the move in the first place, but nonetheless it was the first big feather in the cap of the trio. Next, the Samwers tried their strategy again, this time with a ringtone service called Jamba. In 2004, the company became well known because of carefully placed TV ads and a bunch of really annoying ringtone options. No, seriously, that was the point. The brothers knew that these songs were catchy, and all they needed you to do was subscribe once and you were on the hook. The Samwers made the service incredibly difficult to unsubscribe from, and so they made a lot of money with basically nothing to offer as a product. The company would once again be sold within the first year or so, this time for $400 million. Interestingly enough, this was the app that launched the song Crazy Frog to international fame, as it was constantly played on people's cell phones as well as on TV. The Samwers would put that money that they earned from the sales of Alando and Jamba and put it into their crown jewel, Rocket. Like most fluid conglomerates, trying to pin down exactly what Rocket was setting out to do wasn't always the easiest thing to accomplish. Rocket even meant different things to people in different countries, as employees report a different experience depending on where they were located. Rocket ran targeted ads on television that reportedly did really well at building up their brand. They also did well on SEO online, and would hire bloggers and writers to work with them to make sure their content was being clicked on. Rocket created teams that were designed to reach or even create new markets, filled with teams of ambitious and thoughtful individuals. Rocket wanted these thinkers, as they would then turn around and profit off of these kinds of ideas. The thought was that markets like fashion were dominated by artists, not business people like the Samwers were. They felt that they could anticipate trends better, use data in a way that their competitors weren't, and that would chip away at even the most established companies. This aggressive mindset would end up leading to a lofty fall, however, as this strategy wasn't at all sustainable. Chapter 4: The Fall of Rocket and a Mixed Legacy. By the fall of 2020, Rocket was just about done. The Samwers went about things in their typical fashion, using the company money to buy its shares and at the same time double up on their end takeaways. It was a move that rubbed some the wrong way, since it saved them but hurt those that were still at the company. It was a classic Samwers move, and a classic end of an era for the family. Rocket, when it was at its strongest, was a formidable company, and there's no doubt that the brothers made their money back and then some by the end. And really that's the dividing line here. The Samwers, unlike almost any other business partnership around, are completely transparent about how they do business. In the world of startups, the margin for error is very thin, and it's easy to get bogged down and lose your money. Also, you are never really able to fully get comfortable with a company you are a part of, since the goal is to build it up until you are able to sell it. This environment allows the Samwers to do cold and calculated business techniques that are simply that. The elusive brothers are not that public with their lives, and they definitely don't go out of their way to defend themselves from criticism. They live in a world where everything is justified as long as it is good for business. If you are someone who subscribes to the philosophy that all is fair in business and nothing is personal, then it's easier to be able to see where the Samwers are coming from. Are they always innovating? No, at least not from a consumer or product standpoint. Are they changing the way that businesses is and will be done? Quite possibly so. At the end of the day, the Samwers simply aren't bothered enough about perception to hide their intentions and the way that they do business with the world. Does this make them bad people? Of course not. If anything, it makes them more honest than most. But does their history of prioritizing business over anything, even when it hurts their employees, make them immorally wrong? That's a complex question, and one that everyone has an opinion on. But what do you think? Is this brutal style of business morally iffy? Or is it just business and shouldn't be taken personally? Let us know what you think in the comments down below so that we and everyone else can read it. If you enjoyed the video, and we certainly hope you did, please leave a like on the video, as it helps us out a ton. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this one.